This time I call the special call meeting order of the Beaufort County Board of Commissioners. First item is to approve the agenda. Could I get a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved. Second.
Motion by Commissioner Brin, second by Commissioner Buzzio. All those in favor of the agenda, raise your right hand. Unanimous. At this time, I'll turn it over to Brian.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. This is a resolution, this is the issuance resolution for the refunding, the bond refunding that you have approved for $3.75 million on the school bond refunding. You've already approved it. This is the order that allows for the issuance of the bond. Couple of things to update you on. We had originally anticipated that this was going to the June 6th LGC meeting for approval. When the LGC looked at it, they said, we want to come down and do a site visit because we want to confirm that all the audit findings have been taken care of over the last 2 years. So they're going to come down and do that. We actually asked them, would they come on so we could still stay on the June meeting? And they said their schedule didn't allow for that. So Davenport has reached out to Pinnacle Finance, who gave us the low bid. They've agreed to hold their financing until July so that we can get on the July approval by the LGC. So we're just pushed back just a little bit on it.
Okay.
But otherwise, we're good.
Any comments or question?
When did you say they might come down?
I haven't spoken with them yet. I'm waiting for them to reach out to me and schedule a date.
Okay.
If there's no comments or question, can I have a motion to approve the resolution?
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Evans. Is there a second?
Second.
A second by Commissioner Langley. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Unanimous. Can I have a motion to adjourn the special call meeting?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Brin. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Evans. All those in favor of adjourning, raise your right hand. Thank you. Now, this time we'll come back from recess relating to the budget workshop. Tonight, we're going to have a chance to comment, each one of us, on the budget that's been proposed, as well as the expansion, and as well as the loan proposal of $3 million. And hopefully, by taking a straw vote, we can give some idea or some commitment to the budget as it relates to our June the 12th meeting, and give some guidance to the county manager and the chief financial officer. So, any questions about that? All right, the first item I want to discuss tonight, based on comments that we've already heard in our workshop, as well as comments from commissioners individually to me and the concerns, is I'd like for us to put the loan out there of $3 million for discussion first, because the loan of $3 million accommodates and finances or funds part of the things that we would have to do if we do not do the loan. We'd have to go through the list and we'd have to choose those items that we are going to fund, either by pulling down the fund balance or the possibility of a tax increase. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give, I think each one of you's got a list of the capital items in front of you that's in the $3 million loan package. And I'm not going to read them off, but you can see that there's money in here for the First Bank building, money in here for the courthouse improvements, money to reinforce the power for our communication system, funds to go to the community college, funds to go to the school system, as well as addressing some of the maintenance problems that need to be tackled by the commissioners. So at this time, I'm gonna allow each one of you up to 5 minutes on the first round to say whatever you would like to as it relates to these items, as well as the idea of using financing to tackle these problems. So I'm going to allow each one of you, if you want to pass, that's fine. So who wants to be first?
I'll go first.
Okay.
I'll probably have the least to say. We're just at a point now where it's time for us to stop kicking this can. We've been kicking this can for a number of years, and all these particular projects are things that we desperately need to do. So I am saying I am all for borrowing this $3 million. I really don't want to do this, but it's something that we really and truly need to do. So I am a yay as far as this $3 million is concerned.
Okay. Next. Okay, Commissioner Evans.
I agree. I think this can has been kicked down the street for years and years, and I think this is not going to solve all the issues, and I hate that we're having to borrow $3 million, but it'll take some of the dents out of the can that we've got out there. It won't fix everything, but if we don't, we're going to have some serious problems, and I think it's a really good start that these things have been identified, and I think we need to move forward with them.
Thank you, Commissioner Evans. Who wants to be next?
I'll go.
Okay.
I'm a firm believer of pay-as-you-go, and that's what we have always done in the past. But in this particular instance, I feel it's important that we get these capital projects out of the way. As Commissioner Langley and Commissioner Evans has said, that we've kicked that can down the road about as far as we can. And so when I was in business, if I needed to go out and I needed a piece of equipment, instead of taking my cash to buy it, you finance it. And that way that keeps you liquid. So this is a good opportunity for us to make this happen. I'm a yay.
Okay.
Well,
Next.
everybody looking down this way. I agree with what has been said about kicking the can down the road. But I have a serious problem with borrowing $3 million to put a Band-Aid on a hole that we've been patching and patching and patching for years. The way I feel about this $3 million, you got to reoccur this for 10 years. Next year you'll have the same problem. This will not begin to do any good. And we talk about kicking the can down the road. We got $450,000 for First Bank. That can had been kicked nowhere. That's just a new project. And right now, and my mind could change, but I'm a nay.
Next, Commissioner.
I guess I'll go. I look at this issue as economic requirements in this county. We were elected to make some very hard decisions, some very tough decisions, and it's not always easy. When you look at economic development, when people moving into an area, they want to make sure your schools are maintained, and they want to make sure that your health issues are addressed, and they also want to make sure that any county office buildings, are maintained. We have an important issue going to come up next year when it has to do with classrooms, the state decreasing classrooms, and that could end up costing us close to $5 million if we have to figure out some way to have additional classrooms. So I agree with everything the commissioner has said so far. We're kicking this can down the road. We've been postponing the hard decisions, the tough decisions, and we need to stop that. So we have to meet our obligations now, and because we're going to have further obligations next year. It's like the last one of the previous meetings, they talked about a number of our buildings are leaking. I guess we could issue our employees umbrellas or rain jackets and not fix it. I guess we can not take care of some of the technology issues or the safety issues in the county. I guess we can let our sheriff deputies drive around with cars at over 200,000 miles. There's a lot of things we could let go, but the issues are just going to come up again next year. And when it comes to safety and security or economic development, we just can't let these things go. I'm like Gary. I don't like to borrow money. I'd like us to pay as you go, but like I said earlier, we're elected to make these tough and hard decisions. So in order to get these things done, I would favor borrowing the money so we don't have to worry about these issues again next year.
Thank you. Commissioner Richardson?
Well, I think this is false economy. I don't think the taxpayers in Beaufort County can afford this. One of the reasons this is false economy is we're borrowing money for continuing operations, but we're calling it capital. If you were doing this in the real world, in the corporate world, under GAT, you'd probably go to prison because it's called fraud when you start doing this. We don't need the money that's in this budget that's going to go to the school as a part of their operating budget this year, and us paying it off over a 10-year period of time is some of the worst economics and the worst business decision that I have ever seen. If you go down the list on this thing, it's $659,000 called capital for the schools. It's not capital, it's short-term expenditures. The money's all going to be expended this year for reasonably non-specific things. And we're going to take 10 years to pay that off, the taxpayers are, plus the interest. You've got another thing in here, where are they? The HVAC systems at the community college. We've always done that as a continuing expense. That's $165,000. The rest of the items that are on this list, no question that for the most part, they are needed. But there is no reason that we can't reduce expenditures in the other part of this budget. And even if you took half of what is left, you're only talking about $1 million of continuing cost. If you did it this year and then you do another $1 million next year, and that takes care of it. For commissioners to allege that these are dire needs is simply false. The roof at the courthouse annex, the roof at the old jail, the roof at the Oakland building. You can't tell me you can't patch a roof for another year. Even if you take the $1 million, you're getting half of those roofs this year, even if that's correct. You got the Seaboard roof. You got to buy a modular unit at a landfill. You got to pave a little parking lot. You got to rehab the bank down here. You got your courthouse improvements. Those two together come to about $1 million. So there's no reason, that's why it's called a budget, because you decide what you can afford to do this year and what you have money to do with, and you go ahead and do that money. The county is running out of money. That's one of the reasons these guys want to borrow and call it capital for continuing operations. And once you start doing that, for the most part, you usually keep doing it. This is a chart that I made up using county numbers. And what it shows you is that spending has been going up last 3 or 4 years like this, almost straight up when you put all the money that we've been spending in here. But look at the bottom line. The bottom line is more important. We had $26 million in capital reserve or fund balance in about 2014. Today, we have $14 million. We have been through $12 million of savings in 3 years. And you say this, and a lot of this money did not show up in the budget because it was put into capital funds, so it didn't pass through the budget in various ways. The numbers don't lie. The revenue is the red number. Income is the red number. Here's where income tops off here. The only reason this dash line is up here is to show the $3 million that we're borrowing this year. So we're approaching a $65 million budget. And in 2007, we had a $48 million budget. Our spending is going through the ceiling. And what happens in this situation, when you see this curve going down here and this curve going up, taxes are going up. Commissioners can hide it with this short-term installment type borrowing, as they call it, which is good for 10 years. But the piper is going to come home if we keep spending at this rate. Taxes are going up. Whether they go up this year or not, I don't know. But there's no question what the long-term effects of this are. We, as commissioners, are here to represent the public and to manage their money for them. Within this budget, there is no management of money. It's what's called a continuation budget. We taken, as proposed in the budget, what we spent last year, and we're just adding to it. It's the first budget in the 20 years that I've been here that I have ever participated in that there has been no discussion of cost savings. So everything that the county is doing and everything that the county is buying is needed and is a total and true necessity according to the budget. You can't keep doing this without getting into some real dire economic problems, and that involves tax increases. And the public is going to sit here, they're going to do what they've always done. They're going to sit here and let these guys do this, and all of a sudden they're going to wake up when the tax bill starts coming in October and November. And that's when the revolution begins. You get a bunch of commissioners thrown out of office. You get some people in that come in and tell you they're going to save money, but all they do is bless what's been going on because they don't want to roll up their sleeves and do the work that's necessary in order to cut the cost for the county. There's no reason that we need to spend this amount of money. What I would propose that we do is that we reduce this budget that's proposed across the board by 5% in the general fund budget, by 5%, that will give us the so-called $3 million that they're going to borrow. And you don't borrow any money. The taxpayers should be the ones to approve the borrowing of money in government. And the legislature came up with this slick thing called installment financing, which you can only do for 10 years, and the taxpayers don't have to approve that. But the taxpayer, if we're going to borrow money, we should allow the taxpayers to at least vote on it because they're going to pay for it. And again, I want you to tell me why you've got about $800,000 of continuing normal maintenance and repair expenses that we're going to pay off over a 10-year period of time with the interest. There's no management in this budget at all. And when I say management, the management of this budget doesn't fall to the manager over here. It falls to this board sitting up here.
Commissioner Richardson, I'll give you one more minute.
That's fine. Thank you. I appreciate the time.
I'm giving you one more minute.
Oh, I'm gracious master. Thank you. I don't want to use it.
Okay. Okay. I think I'm the only one that's not spoken. I think the first budget workshop, I mentioned the fact that I was the one that suggested that we look at doing some financing as it related to First Bank. That was the first item on the table. We spent money to purchase the building, and it needs to be updated before we can move our employees in there. If you were in the business world when you purchased a facility like that, you would have also thrown in there what it was going to cost to update it, and you probably would have done a loan of some sort. But we used money out of the reserve funds to do the purchase. And what Commissioner Richardson's advocating is that we use money out of the reserve fund or out of the budget process in order to do that, to do the update. The thing that's been added to that is the situation as it relates to our courthouse and our jail. We don't have any options there other than to comply and do what's needed to do. And that number is, is on here at $500,000. And we don't have a total contract price on that, so that's a moving target. Some of the other things as it relates to the public schools, we have 2 activity buses in there which stays on the books and stays with the system for, I understand, 18 years. We also have in there a land purchase of $80,000. These are all items that a businessman would use or corporation could use. They might use their own cash, but there's nothing wrong with us doing that. When you say we're financing maintenance projects, we're financing maintenance projects where the life, in some cases, on the roof of these buildings may be 25 or 30 years. I have no idea when you look at the Oakland building and the Seaboard building, how old those roofs are. It's a really sad time when we have a 911 center that during a hurricane, when we got to depend on our employees to protect us, that we have water that's leaking and we have to put a tarp over our employees plus our equipment in order to continue to operate with. I think it's a good idea. It's, you know, if you look back, I was one of the ones that said on the communications equipment, instead of using the fund balance, maybe we needed to use fund balance for half of that and finance the other part. We're using $1.8 million to do the new communication system. As commissioners, we have a fiduciary responsibility to protect the assets that we have. We're not building anything. We're trying to protect the assets and keep our structures up to date. So I'm a yes as it relates to doing the financing. I think I'm just going to ask for a straw vote to make sure that I know where we are on that. So those in favor of using $3 million to do a loan of $3 million, raise your right hand. 5. Those opposed? 2. Thank you, gentlemen. Now, this is the opportunity for commissioners to take a look at our existing budget as it's been proposed by the manager and the chief financial officer, and the budget that we've looked at over the last 3 sessions, where we've looked at each one of the departments and each one of the line item. So at this time, I'm going to allow commissioners, and here again, I would ask that you try to stay within 5 minutes on your comments. Commissioner Richardson has already thrown out on the floor cutting the budget straight across the board 5%. So I'm going to let him lead off since he's already thrown that out there. But after that, if there's any commissioner that has anything in here in the existing proposed budget that they would like to see eliminated or cut, then I'll give that opportunity to you. So
Let me be sure I understand how this thing's going to work tonight. You're going to allow us to speak.
Yeah.
You're going to give us permission to
Yes.
speak.
Yes.
Okay. We're not all equal sitting up here, apparently.
Well, I'm giving each person 5 minutes.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, as long as we understand that, I think you've answered my question.
Yeah.
So we're going to have 5 minutes to speak on the budget that's been proposed by the manager. All right. What's the next thing on the agenda?
The expansion.
We're going to have 5 minutes to speak on the expansion budget.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then each one of these is going to be voted after that.
We're going to have a straw vote on each one.
We'll be out of here by 7 o'clock, right?
Good.
No, it depends. It depends on how much discussion we have. We also have to go into the fire districts and the EMS tax, as well as the water enterprise. So,
Well, I'm gonna reserve my time
you're
for
gonna
speaking
reserve-
on this.
Okay.
Yes, I don't want to speak right now.
So you want to be last?
Somewhere in there.
Okay. All right. Who wants to start?
What happens if we all want to be last?
Okay. Well, I'll start. I'll start then. Is that okay? I mean, I don't.
Go ahead.
I don't want.
Have at it.
Okay, the first one I've got in here is the North Carolina Estuarium. For the last 3 years, we've given them $35,000 each one of those years. I noticed that the city of Washington just recently passed their budget, or moving it forward, and their allocation is $12,960. So right now, we're allocating $35,000 in our present budget. I would think that the city of Washington is getting a lot more benefit from having the estuarium here in Washington than the citizens in Belhaven, Pantuga, Pinetown, and then you look at Aurora, Chakawinity. My thought is that we trim that budget by $20,000. That still leaves 15 in there, which is a little bit above the city's budget. That's one item. The next item is as it relates to the BHM library and as it relates to individual libraries in the county. the Beaufort Hyde Memorial Library, up to this point, is financing, they're handling funds that the county allocates to them to turn around and send money to the various libraries for various expenses, rent, utilities, salaries, and so on. We have one library that's not in that group, that's a separate line item, and I'm not sure why, but I'm suggesting that we send the $1,000 for the Bellhaven Library over to BHM and let them, and designate that money turn around and go to the library in Bellhaven. I would also like, well, that gets into the expansion, so, and as it's been brought up, there's been discussions about merging the libraries here in Washington or in the county. That's for another time and another place. But I would like to see that, and we're getting a better breakdown now with the library, with the regional library, of where the money goes to each one of our libraries within the county. So it's not a lot of money, but, and it's really not a savings because, we're just shifting it from there. The other thing that I would throw out there is when you look at Eagles Wing, we're spending $2,000 with Eagles Wing, and that's in the recommended budget. We have 18 food pantries in Beaufort County. I think in the future, we don't have to do it now, but I think in the future, we need to be looking at sending money to the food bank in Elizabeth City, which in turn provides the food for all of these 18 food banks. I don't know why we pick out one, and center on that. And that's where I'll leave it at this point in time. So I'll let the next person that wants to have something to say.
What page is this stuff on in the book?
This is just, it's on the, the library and the estuary's on the expansion, no, not on the expansion, but,
The expansion's 169.
169?
but it's,
It's under 115.
yeah, both of these would be on the expansion, but the numbers I'm talking about is in the proposed budget. It's not in the expansion.
So if you look on page 116, those are your outside agencies, the Estuary's an outside agency. So on page 116, about midway down, 3/4 of the way down, you'll see MC Estuarium. You'll see in 2014, there was no funding provided. In 2015, there was 35. 2016, there was 35. And then this year, there was 35. And then we recommended continuing that at 35. And then you'll see, if you go up about a quarter away from the top down, you'll see Bellhaven Library, BHM. That started, or from 14, 15, 16, and $17,000. I think what I wrote down was Chairman Waters was saying, zero that out and send those funds to the BHM library, which is about midway down. So that would be 203. We show them at a continuation of 2025. Last year or this current year they requested 212. If that were to occur, that would go to 2035, and we'd zero out the Bellhaven Library with, I'm assuming, a letter to them saying you wanted that to flow to them.
Yeah. They operate with a regional board, so each one of the libraries in the county have representation. And for the first time, their budget, they are showing us what goes to each one of those libraries.
Yeah, and I think the question came up, let me get to it, I'll tell you exactly what page it is. I think it came up the other night about how much of that money, 225, page 2, is it 2? Okay, sorry. Oh, you're right. So, on page 225, that's under the expansion piece. It's in the back. You'll see the budget that was submitted by BHM, page 225. So on the top, you can see their income. They're proposing that they receive $212 from the county, $7,800 from the city, $7,100 from the town of Bellhaven, and $2,000 from the town of Bath, for a total of $228,900. And then they break out where their personnel costs are, and they show where those are paid for, Bath branch library manager, part-time, library assistant, at all the different places in Beaufort County. So this is actually the Beaufort County budget, and then down at the very bottom of that expense line item, you'll see regional expenses, 22,803. That's the expenses that are pulled out of this budget, or that they propose spending in this budget, that will support the regional activities for the entire region. Of course, that office is located here, so some of that money obviously stays here, just because it's located here. But I know there was a question about that. Yeah, I think that's on a per capita basis. That's how they do it. You'll see how they show down at the bottom, how they determine their regional expenses. And then, of course, Eagles Wings is in your outside agency budget. That was funded for the first time last year, about midway, at $2,000. And you did receive a request this year in your service expansion from the food bank of the Albemarle for $2,500.
My only thought is that if we send money directly to the food bank of the Albemarle, which is located in Elizabeth City and covers, I think, 20-some counties, that the money flows back into Beaufort County, and that all of the 18 benefits to a certain extent on that.
Well, my problem is, why are we doing this charity work anyway? If the taxpayers want these places to have money that are charities, they can give their own money as much as they want to.
I do. I send the food bank in Elizabeth City money.
Well, it's not a function of the county government to go out use the police power of the state and take money from people and then use it to donate to our favorite charities. And I want to emphasize, I don't have a charity in here.
Other reductions in the proposed budget?
I'd like to raise an issue, Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
that I'd like to see us consider an alternative, which to me makes more sense. We're paying a lobbyist $36,000, which is $3,000 a month. And this year, no expenses, which means the county has not utilized his services. To me, it would make more sense if we had a lobbyist and we paid him as we needed him by the hour. As of right now, we wouldn't have any cost. So that would save us, this current year so far, $36,000 plus expenses, which haven't been incurred as of yet, which means there's no activities. We do have an association that covers the pending legislation. But like I said, if we need a lobbyist, we could always reach out and pay by the hour for the services. So I'd like to see consideration to save the county that money and utilize it if we need it for some other areas.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Commissioner Brent.
Commissioner Bozo, you tried to get rid of the lobbyists last year for the
Correct.
same reasons. And I propose to leave him in our budget for the simple reason is he gives me an awful lot of information over a period of years. I get at least 3 or 4 emails from him a week updating me on what is happening in Raleigh, so if I'm questioning about it, I can have a good, solid answer for him. And if we utilize him as we should, then I think he's well worth the money.
You finished? Yes.
I recall one email that I received this year from him, and it was about legislative activities in the House and the Senate. And what it was is referred me to a website. You know, I could do that on my own. And when we went to the meeting in Washington, I was told one time he makes phone calls for us. Well, my understanding is all those meetings were set up by the staff here in Beaufort County, our headquarters staff. So I don't see really any activity that we can't get out of our own association, which I think costs us $4,000 a year,
5,500.
$5,500,
Those are your membership dues.
membership dues,
Association.
and which I get updates for. I just, if we need a lobbyist, we can hire one and pay him by the hour, him or her, or whoever we decide. I just don't see the need for it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any other comments?
On the subject of,
Yes.
Oh.
Wait, on the lobbyist,
oh,
if you,
Oh.
did you want to say anything on that? Anybody else want to comment on it?
I agree with what Ron said. I've got one email from him, from Joe, and that's been it. I just think it may work out better if by the hour, and then maybe he'll be keeping us a little bit more up to date. He's coming to us saying, here's something you really need to work on, here's an opportunity, rather than waiting for him at his leisure to contact us.
Yes.
I sort of agree with Gary. I don't have no problem with him. I think he's done us a good job. What you have to look at here is the issues that he had worked with us on the Highway 17. He worked with us on several different projects. But what you got to realize is yes, we got a state lobbyist, but they're not coming in an individual county. They basically going what's the massive of the majority of the counties want to do. Now, you can't get them down here in an argument whether we need a agriculture district or something like that. You can't get them down there. No kind of controversy, nothing in this county. You're going to get this state association to come in and help you do nothing, because that's not what they're there for. And if you don't, you pick up the phone and call him. It don't cost you nothing to call him. If you need him, you pick up the phone and call him.
That's right. He's always got an ear.
Okay. Are we ready for Commissioner Richardson? I mean, he wants to be last.
Take a straw vote on this?
Yeah, I
Well,
think,
not ready yet.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Not ready
Just-
yet.
let me just say this, you want to pull the Eagle Wings food pantry, and I don't agree with that. I say they should stay in. It's
What's
just
that, Jerry?
Eagle Wings,
Yeah.
I say they should stay in.
Any other comments?
Well, on Eagle Wings,
Well, Eagle Wings or the proposed budget?
I agree with Jerry also on Eagle Wings. I mean, the sad thing here is the dollars that you're pulling ain't saving you nothing. They're not saving you a dime. I mean, the Eagles weighing $2,000 or $3,500. That ain't no money in a $65 million budget. So I'd say let them stay in also.
yeah, I'll do a comment on if you're talking about the outside agencies, is that what we're talking about?
Well,
Eagles Wings in there?
yeah.
Well-
That's in the proposed budget.
Well, I'd have this budget down to the library thing, which is about $212,000. We got $424,000 in here. None of this money, we really know what these people do with the money, if you want to get right down to it. We don't know what they do with the money. They take it and put it in their budget and go out and do whatever they want to. So far as the county being responsible for feeding people, look, we already got about 10 other programs that we pay for that feed people. So why do you need to pay for another program that goes out and feeds people? I'd have this outside agency's budget and get rid of all the charity that's in it, because we're not a charitable organization. And let the public can give the money to whoever they want to have it.
Any other budget items that you want to talk about before I give Commissioner Richardson his 5 minutes? Okay.
All right, I'm a little bit lost in what we're doing. We're talking about the whole budget as a whole?
We're talking about the existing proposed budget that the county manager, that we've been talking about for 3 nights, not the expansion part. That'll be a separate.
Okay, well, I mean, if you want to talk about that budget in general, there's more things in there than I could ever address in 5 minutes. The budget has got way too much in it. It's a continuation budget. I'd go back to what I said before. If it was up to me, I'd cut the budget 5% across the board, and we would not be borrowing money. The taxpayers would be saving money, and even at that, it's a fat budget, because as I showed you here a while ago, the $10 or $12 million that has gone out of our savings account in the last 3 years, in addition to the amount of spending that's proposed on this, is a lot more than a county like this needs or should afford, could afford. So I'm still where I was. We need to cut this budget 5%.
Thank you. I don't want to cut you guys out if there's.
We're taking notes.
You're taking notes? Okay. Okay. Have you got a spreadsheet that you can do over there, Nita?
We can.
Absolutely.
All right.
If you tell us what we need to do,
Okay.
that's why we propose one, and y'all.
We're now going to take a straw vote on the proposed budget that's been presented. So at this time, I'll just ask those in favor of moving the proposed budget forward, raise your right hand.
Question.
Yes.
The proposed budget that the manager presented or what we presented?
What they presented. What we've been talking about, what you've got in your book.
Right here, not all this stuff, okay, I got you.
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, I think on the individual things we've talked about, there's not support to take them out.
I'm confused. I mean, are you talking about the budget as proposed by the manager and the finance director? That's the one we can vote on, take a straw vote on now.
All these stays in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're going to go to the expansion in a few minutes.
Well, why don't we vote on each one of these proposals that have been made individually?
Okay.
You know,
Okay.
All right.
I got my motion for a 5% decrease across the board on what's been presented.
We can do a straw thing. We can
Okay.
do a straw thing. Okay. Those that would support cutting the budget 5%, raise your right hand.
Can I say something?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
As I said earlier, we were elected to make some hard decisions, and to me, cutting a budget
That's
across the
easy
board,
to say.
and in my 50 years' experience in business and government, I'd never made cuts across the board. It just impacts too many programs. If you're going to cut, you're better off going in and cutting a program, or cut the percentages in individual program. But a 5% cut, I could never support, just across the board, because you're impacting too many programs, required programs, necessary programs that have a tremendous impact on the county.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I'm willing to amend my motion to that we do a 5% cut of the budget, not necessarily across the board, but wherever the commissioners want to cut.
Okay. We'll get right into a couple of those where it'd be a cut. We'll take the North Carolina Estuary and
Well, wait a minute. I've got a motion. We need to vote on the motion to cut
Straw vote.
a straw vote, the
Okay.
5%, not across the board, but my amended motion, which is that we get 5% out of this budget somewhere, and so that we can take a look again at borrowing money.
Okay. You've heard that comment on the straw vote. Make sure everybody understands.
So Commissioner Richardson, we're just running our numbers to make sure we're right. A 5% across the 56 million is $2.8 million.
That's right, yeah.
Okay. Those that would agree with the 5% cut, raise your right hand. All right. Those opposed? All right. Now, the other items that we talked about was the North Carolina Estuarium. That was a cut of $20,000, reducing that budget down to 15.
Before we take a straw vote, Mr. Chairman, I recommend that we increase that to 20,000 instead of, Or should I wait to the expansion?
Well, we're giving them 15, that's more than the city gives them.
Yeah. And that was my thought process, is,
I'm just saying, you know, from a tourism perspective, I'd like to see 20,000, but
So let me clarify, Commissioner Budge, you're saying you would like to give them 20 instead of the 15?
correct,
So cut it 15 instead of 20.
correct.
So I guess, Mr. Chairman, you could hear that request first, if that goes,
okay,
and then if it doesn't, then you can ask for the other.
all right, you heard.
So what you're doing is you're increasing the allegation by $5,000.
No, he's saying instead of cutting it by 20, which is what the chairman had proposed, he says only cut it by 15, which would leave them with 20 instead of 15, which is what he's saying leave them with.
Okay.
Right.
Doing the $15,000 cut, those in favor of that?
That's mine.
Yes. All right, those opposed?
Oh, can you do it one more time? We had some arms jump up late. So, as I understand, the motion is, or the straw vote, is to cut their budget by 15,000.
Yes.
Instead of
So they would go to 20,000 would be the expenditure or the allocation to them.
And I think I already got, there was only two of us, I think.
Two, all right.
I would,
Is this a yes or no vote, or are we going to vote on the 15,000 and the 20,000 as two separate votes?
Two separate votes, yes, sir.
So you're going to have to vote to cut. What if you don't want to cut?
What, you just,
it's
it
a strong
fails.
vote,
I
so
mean,
don't
it can
matter.
it can fail. It can fail. We're going to find out right now.
Do what I did, add money to it.
All right, those that would like to cut it 20,000 and leave 15,000 in the budget, raise your right hand. Did you?
five.
5?
5-2.
Who voted for that?
Let's drink to that.
So,
It's a cut, ain't it?
now, just to make sure I understand, are the other two opposed, or they just don't want to vote?
No, they got to
We
vote.
oppose.
They got to vote to cut it.
You didn't ask for
20,000
it.
Huh?
was
All
the
right.
option.
Okay, those that are opposed to the cut. Okay. We got a total of 7 votes now, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. All right, now we'll address the lobbyist. We've heard the comments about taking that out and using the lobbyist on a pay-as-we-go. So those that want to take the lobbyist out of the budget, raise your right hand. Are you looking at me like?
Oh, no, I'm waiting to, I'm writing.
Okay. Those that want to pull it from the budget. All right, it's 3. Those that want to keep it in the budget, raise your right hand. And that's 4. So that straw vote's 4-3. All right, now what else did we talk about?
Eagle Wings.
Eagle Wings.
Ryan, what page is Eagle Wings on?
116,
116?
yes, sir. It's listed as an outside agency.
And you're proposing to cut them completely out?
Well,
Yeah.
I guess really, I might have been misunderstood. I would love to see, if we feel like the food bank in Beaufort County is important, that we shift that money to the food bank of the Albemarle, where it benefits all 18 pantries in Beaufort County. So that would just be a shift.
Call your squirrel vote.
Okay, straw vote. All those that would like to see us redirect those money to the food bank of the Albemarle, raise your hand. Okay. Those that are opposed to that, raise your hand.
Well, I'm opposed to giving the money at all.
Well,
So-
that's not an option. You got you'll have to,
I'm not going to vote to give money to something that I'm opposed to. So let the record show that I'm opposed to giving any money.
That's right.
I think the motion
There you
was
go.
to transfer it.
Well, okay, I
but he's
think,
opposed to that. That's what he's saying.
Right.
but I'm opposed to transferring it. The money should be kept in the county.
So if you wanted to cut it, you could make a motion to just cut it.
Yeah. Well, I've already made motions, I think, to do away with the charity part of this budget, and that's been voted down.
Okay. Now, what have I missed?
Bellhaven Library.
No, it's just a shift.
That's just a shift. Do we still need to vote on that? Shift?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. All right.
It's different than what
Those
it
in
was.
favor of shifting that money up to the Beaufort Hyde Martin Regional Library and earmark it, telling them to earmark it for
Excuse me,
Bellhaven.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Explain to me how that's gonna work. Again,
They're
I
all,
didn't get it when you
okay.
did it first.
All right. We're just moving the $1,000 and increasing the BHM's allocation by 1,000. And we're giving them instructions that 1,000 goes directly to the Bellhaven Library.
Okay,
They write a check.
but
They're already paying for utilities and rent and part of the labor or salary cost
so
in
you're
all
gonna,
of the
you're
libraries
gonna make sure that money's earmarked for this library,
for
for
Bellhaven.
Bellhaven.
Yeah.
The problem with earmarking and doing this in these budgets is you need a policeman to stand there to make sure it gets done. I mean, it's so hard to manage. We need to write our own checks and control our own destiny. Because this is going to get left in the budget next year, and, oh, that's a pass-through, so we're going to include it with so-and-so, and then nobody knows what's going on.
Well, I think we can ask, just like they did this year, in their budget, that they show how much money goes to the individual libraries within the county, out of that money that's allocated, the 200 and, what is it, 11?
212 or
212,000. Okay, let's take a straw vote. Those that would favor shifting that, raise your right hand.
What do they do now? Do they give them anything?
Yeah.
We give it directly we give the 1,000 directly to Bellhaven Library.
You're not going to know where this money's going in a year. You're not even going to know it's there.
You haven't known where it's been in the past. I mean, it's.
Yes,
you know,
I
we
have. I've been sitting on this board for 20 years. I know where a lot of
you
this stuff
don't,
goes.
you're not sitting on their board. I mean, we've been spending 1,000 with them. We don't know what they spend with
You're
the money.
sitting there admitting what I accused you of a while ago, of giving money and all of these things, and you don't know what it's used for. So why are you doing that?
We get a budget from them, and we do get some financial records on most of these people. Okay, those that are in favor of making that shift, raise your right hand. Okay, those opposed?
No, I'm not in favor of that. No, that's not good business.
Okay. All right, now what else have we left out?
I think that's it, but can we recap to make sure we have it
Yeah,
correct?
yeah.
I have a $20,000 reduction to the North Carolina Estuarium.
Right.
We have a net change of 0, but we're going to, instead of paying Bellhaven Library $1,000 directly, just let it flow through BHM Library. So that's a net change of 0. Eagles Wings is staying in at $2,000, and the lobbyist stays in at $36,000.
That's correct.
Okay.
Say 50,000?
Any other comments before we take a straw vote on the proposed budget? Okay, all those in favor of the proposed budget, raise your right hand. All right, it's 5. Those opposed to the proposed budget is 2. So the straw vote was 5-2. All right. The next item on here is the expansion, and I'll ask you to turn to page 169. And if Anita, if you'll do the same thing that you just did on the other one, if you'll keep a spreadsheet and help us.
How much money?
Who wants to be first with, because I'm sure everybody sat here the other night and everybody's got their own opinion, so.
Do I understand that we're using a negative approach to this? And that is, unless somebody says that it should be taken out, it stays in?
No, I think the purpose is, what you want in the expansion, you speak up now.
If you want it, if we don't vote on it staying in the expansion, it comes out.
Yes.
Okay.
So whatever you would like to see stay in or be part of the expansion, this is your time to speak up.
Well, I'm gonna do what I always do every year. My first proposal is a 2% pay increase for the employees.
So that's on, might be on the next page, on page 170. So when you look at 170, if you want to go to the page number, it's 397. And that number would be $305,127. Now, do you want to do a straw vote on each one, or just go through them and try to,
I think doing one by one, then that way you don't have to circle back.
all right?
Does this mean that the budget that you guys just voted for is going to be increased by this amount of money?
Yes. You got it. Got it. All right,
Mr. Chairman, that's the effect on the general fund budget. The effect on the water fund budget would be $20,029 for the 2% COLA.
right. And I've got the water budget
Separate.
later.
Yep.
Okay, let's take a straw vote on the 2%. One, two, three, 4, 5,
6? Maybe
oh,
6.
6. All right, those opposed?
Just for the record, I'm not voting for anything in the expansion budget.
Okay. So I won't have to ask, is what you're
No,
saying?
I'll vote, but I mean, you're right. You can count me that way.
Well, sometimes you ask me if you can vote.
And that's right.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
I would like to expand the budget for the Boys and Girls Club by $10,000,
What does that make the total allocation?
$50,000.
$50,000.
is that right?
Yes, sir.
50?
It's currently 40, and with a 10% increase, it would be 50.
Okay.
What page, where's that at on this thing?
Boys and Girls Club is alphabetically would be on the first page.
Oh, it would be?
They're actually in youth services. So if you go to page 113,
No, on the expansion budget page.
226, go to page 226.
What page, is it on page 169 or page 170?
226.
226, okay. I got you.
Could I go back and ask the question?
Yes.
I think every employee deserves a raise, but I got a question to the manager here.
yes, sir.
Somewhere we discussed that our employees gonna have to start paying some of their insurance.
We did discuss that because that's currently what's on the table with the state. It's been a
And how
proposal.
much is that gonna be?
It's $25 a month per employee.
And let me, if, not too many of our employees that we're gonna give a 2% raise, it's gonna increase their salary $25 a month.
Let me see.
Let us run that real quick.
Please.
Almost all of them will get,
When you
Yeah.
run that, how about just using an average dollar amount per employee?
Yeah, we'll have to.
And then make sure you take the taxes out and the insurance to see what the net effect would be.
2% of $20,000 is $400, so I don't think we have anybody making less than $20,000.
I don't think so either.
in a fourth.
Would you say an average number would be
My
40?
guess is 40.
Well, if you use 40, that's 800, and then you take 30% out in taxes. That's $240, right?
Aren't they going to be able to deduct that $25 as a medical?
Not unless you get to the 2% threshold, I think. Isn't that what it
I
is?
don't know.
No, it's more than that. You're talking about when they do their taxes on the itemized?
Don't you have to have 2% medical expense, over 2% medical expenses?
I think
I
it's
think
about
it's
10%. I think it's 10% of their gross.
It's high.
And don't know what they may end up with.
But you don't know that the legislature's going to do that yet.
We don't know that yet, but that is the recommendation that we understand coming from the state employees health plan. It may be, who knows, it may be more, maybe less. I don't really know how the Senate's, usually the Senate is the one that's the heavy.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I don't know.
Wait.
Security eligibles.
Retirement.
While you're doing that, can we take a straw vote
Sure.
on the boys and girls?
Yeah.
Did we do that?
No.
Okay. On the Boys and Girls Club, those in favor of the 10,000 expansion item? Six one?
Yep.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to propose that we allocate $125,000 for technology for the Beaufort County school system. As you know, technology today, as every child needs it in order to succeed in the business world. So, as I said, I want to propose $125,000 for technology for Beaufort County schools.
What line is that in the expansion budget?
It's not.
It's not.
That's what I thought. Isn't that already in the school budget?
No.
Yes, it is. He's coming here and talked to us about that what he's asked for includes his technology budget for the schools.
No, it doesn't.
I'm beg to disagree.
I think Brian, you've had some conversation with Dr. Phipps. Was there technology at all in
Well,
what we're doing?
the way you've allocated money to them is under current expense and capital. And their capital, they have their program, and I think I want to say we got their technology, it's 300 and some thousand, I think. But, you know,
300, that's $400,000 they requested.
yeah, so what you give them in current expense, they could use some of that money to do it, or they may have it earmarked for something else. I'm really not sure exactly how they have those numbers, whether they say we're going to fund 100% of that or not.
Yeah, the total request for technology was $400,000. We actually, they could use some of their cash, because I'm suggesting $125,000. They're going to have to take some money and add it to that. And it's for such items as computers, Chromebooks, Optiplex, Chromebook carts, iPads, data projectors, distance learning rooms at the various high schools, printers, fibers to EES gym, projector mounts. It's everything you need in technology for the school system.
Right.
And it's almost like a recurring expense, because technology keeps having to be updated. Now, it's not one computer for every student, because we can't afford that, neither can the school system. So they have carts, and they go from classroom to classroom, which is difficult also, but at least they're trying something. I admire the school system, what they're trying to do. And $125,000 plus some of the money they have, hopefully they can meet their $400,000 need.
But the superintendent, that was asked at the joint meeting. Technology came up, and he said that what he had within what he was asking for would be adequate. So why do we want to put more frosting on this cake?
Well, let's take a straw vote. All right, those in favor of adding 125,000?
Yes.
For technology, raise your right hand. Five? Four.
Raise your hand. Everybody for it, raise your hand so they can count.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay. All right, those opposed? 2. All right. Okay. Did you have anything else?
The EMS vehicle locator motors for a total cost of $25,880. I look at this as a public safety issue, and as they talked about it the other evening, it allows us to see where the vehicles are, the ambulances are. It's a cost saving. We could use the closest vehicle then when there's an emergency call, so I believe it has a lot of plus to it.
Okay. Those in favor?
Well, let me have a word on that. They only make about 4,000 calls a year in Beaufort County. I'm just going based on, that's a guess as much as it is anything. But even say I'm wrong, say they made 8,000 calls a year. Divide that by 365, and you've got maybe 20 calls a day. The chances are remote that you're going to have one ambulance that's going to be in the right place with this system. It'll never pay for itself. It'll never come close to paying for itself. And they already have cell phone contact almost 100% of the county. So this is just another toy that will never pay for itself. It will never pay for itself. It's just a frivolous toy.
I disagree with you. I don't think it's a toy. I think it's a way of making sure a system is a lot more efficient. And as I understand it, there is the possibility, maybe the possibility, that we might eliminate the cell phone that's now on the unit.
On our county units.
Right. So anyway, let's take a straw vote on the EMS.
Hold on just a
Okay.
Maybe you can answer this for me. Are you planning to put one of these modems on every one of your vehicles?
Carney? Keep it short.
On every transporting EMS unit. So every ambulance, every EMS unit in the county, yes.
So we're gonna spend $25,000 on that for ever so many years.
No, sir. It's a one-time fee of $25,000 for the technology that puts on the truck that will be put in a safe
So for
location.
$25,000, you get all these?
Yes. However, there will be a recurring service charge, which is just like your cell phone, which we said would be about $4,800
A year.
a
You're
year.
really not going to save
That
any
ties
money.
into the 911 system.
That is correct.
You're not going to get any more efficient operation.
And you're including the city of Washington, Chaco Entity EMS. This is not just county.
This is for every EMS unit in Beaufort County, so that's the municipalities as well, in the
Okay.
township.
Frankie,
Yes.
from what I understand, is where you can sit and look at and see where a vehicle's positioned. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Is our EMS vehicles, they're stationed in a certain district, aren't they?
Yes, sir, but the thing of the AVLs is we know when they're at the station where they are.
Okay.
But if they're at the hospital, they're leaving, going back, and let's say something happens at Beaufort Community
I got
College.
you. I got you.
Dispatch wouldn't know for sure how many minutes did they stop and get fuel or what. So this would show they're now in front of Beaufort Community College and put that truck right on the call.
I got you.
So it makes it easier for me to meet the state requirement of 8 minutes.
Yeah, it's going to put the closest truck. So yes, it would
Yeah.
help that to our best
And
degree.
it basically helps the patient.
Yes, sir. It's all about the patient.
So how many of those contacts are we going to make a year?
I can't give you that information, sir.
That's right, because the statistics that I just gave you and the numbers show you will be lucky if you use this 10 times a year.
But how about if you're the one that needed it?
Well, you can't base it on,
just-
the end of the world type
That's why you guys
thing.
make the decisions.
Got to be made based on some practical thought of what it's going to cost and the possibility of benefit. And my argument is the possibility of benefit's very slim.
Okay, thank you, Carney.
Yes, sir.
We're going to take a straw vote. Those in favor of doing the the modems on each one of the EMS vehicles in Beaufort County? Raise your right hand. Those opposed?
Where is that on our sheet?
It's on the expansion budget.
I know it's on expansion, does it, but where?
It is page 403.
No, in 169 or 170.
Oh, 170, it's the next from the last.
Yep, I got it.
You got it? All right.
I noticed the recommendation on that was 0. No, the estimated annual recurring cost is 0, excuse me.
Okay, the next commissioner.
Say the part-time staff or animal control. I think that'll help. That will-
Part-time.
I think that'll help.
Part-time staff at the animal shelter.
Yeah, part-time.
Yeah.
And that was in the material that Carney passed out to us the other night.
Carney, what's that number? 13,000 something?
13,653.
13,650. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, any other comment?
Well, just, Corny, can you step up there just a second?
Yes, sir.
That part-time employee that we're getting ready to vote on, what's going to be his duties?
The
He or she?
He or
Right.
she?
The intent behind this, of coming and requesting the position, is they've done a great work in changing the amount of animals going back out of the
I
shelter
understand
successfully,
that. I
okay?
remember you talking
And
about that.
there's volunteers that are coming in and helping with that. Our rescues are helping out a lot. But to me, this person would be helping at the shelter so that our own road animal control officers can get out back on the road doing the investigations they need to. This would be assisting at the shelter itself with the transfer of those animals, going
Okay.
into the
And-
rescues and things.
What, would he work 24 hours a week?
19 hours a week,
19? Okay.
up to 19 hours a week.
Okay.
Okay, any other comment on that before we take a straw vote? All right. All those in favor of the part-time animal control employee? All right, those opposed? Okay,
Mr. Chairman,
yes.
I'd like to propose for PAL $5,000 contribution. That's where they run the STEM program, flight training, all types of technology and scientific training for children within Beaufort County. They asked for $35,000, but in the difficult times that we have, I'd like to propose $5,000.
Any other comment?
Page 169, Commissioner.
Okay.
Like 1, 2, 3, fourth down from the top.
Not hearing any other comments, those that would support adding that, raise your right hand. Those opposed? Okay. Who's next?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
Bath, Historic Bath Foundation, I'd like to see $25,000 go to them.
Is that, they were asking for money over
They were
year
asking for
1 and 2.
$150,000. I
Right,
think.
right. But I'm making sure I understand what you're saying. Are you proposing 25 in this budget and then 25 next year?
I'm not proposing anything for next year. Next year ain't got here yet.
Okay, so,
We'll handle that when the time comes.
so you're proposing 25 in this budget?
25 in this budget.
Okay.
Mr.
Yeah.
Chairman, to get matching funds, don't they have to have it for 2 years? Is that my understanding?
Well, they can draw down matching funds if they have a pledge over a 2-year
For 2
period.
years.
2 years. So if we made a pledge for 2 years of 25 each year for a total of 50, they could pull down.
Okay, I'll change that, motion. We'll do it for 2 years running,
Okay.
$25,000 each year.
The only thing I would say to you is you can say that's the intent of the board, but you can't bind next year's board.
That's right.
You know,
Right.
So the best thing to do is to do it for this year, and
But I understand what
you
you're
say.
saying.
Okay.
Is that if you can tell them that that's the intent of the board, maybe that will help them draw down the other as well, I guess.
And I think they'll be fine with that. What they were saying.
All right. I'll just make one comment on that. I've had a couple of telephone calls that basically said, if you want to give Bath money, then, we want you to send us some money our way too. I think people have to understand that, if this happens at any location in Beaufort County, whether it's the city of Washington, Chocowinity, Aurora, Belhaven, Pinetown, wherever it is, when you have a group that's raising roughly $1 million, and it's a 10-year commitment from the state or some partner, then as far as I'm concerned, it's economic development, and that, the commissioner should always
It'll
take a
definitely-
look at
It'll
that.
definitely bring tourists in the county.
Yeah.
There's no question about that.
I think it have Blackbeard's,
Yeah.
All these tourists gonna come and see all these people starving to death. Gee, it's amazing.
Well, we won't go there. Any other comments on on that historic Bath? All right, we'll do a straw vote. All those in favor of that allocation? Those opposed? Randy, make sure you get that smile on down there. You got it.
Brian, that was not a smile, that was a grin.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Commissioner
The-
Langley.
DSS employee for foster care, I think that's one that's much needed. And hopefully and prayerfully, we can keep our children within the county and not in other counties where it costs us more money.
And if I remember, the net cost on that is 45?
$44,799.
and that's the less the 25%
That's the county cost.
counter cost,
That's the net, or the county's cost. Of course.
Because you are able to draw down state and
All
federal
right.
funds on it.
Those in favor of adding that one employee at the Department of Social Service, raise your right hand. The other night, I thought that you were in favor of that during our discussion.
No comment.
No comment, okay. All right. While it's quiet, I'll tackle the voting system. We had the recommendation from the Board of Elections that we start a capital fund of $55,000 per year for new voting machines in the county. I think it's a good idea for us to start that process and not have to face it all at one time. And let's just pray that the ones we got will last 5 years when that happens. So I recommend that we do that part in the expansion.
Then they also mentioned that it's possible the state is looking at mandating updates of machines, I believe, voting machines.
Well, it could be that there would be some grant out there, and
There, in the works, there's a bill that's out there right now that would provide like matching funds, half and half. Just so it stays in there.
so I would recommend that we add that in our expansion budget.
You guys realize, while you're adding all this money, that this money is not included in the revenue for this budget. So you're gonna be looking to try to find some revenue somewhere, if I understand this correctly.
She's gonna have a total when we get through. Those in favor of adding the voting machine or voting system to our expansion, raise your right hand. Those opposed?
Well, that's one of those cases, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
That's just one of those cases that we got to do something right now. And look toward the future, or we're gonna get caught with a bill of about $250,000-$300,000 in 5 years, and you're gonna have to pay it. And so we're just looking toward the future right now, and so I think that's a good way to handle it.
But when you're already blowing out a budget and you're going to be
Well, Hood, you're
looking,
not gonna vote for anything anyway.
what's that got to do with
It
anything?
has a lot
That's
to do with it.
your personal opinion.
That's right.
I'll go ahead and say what I really meant to say.
Well,
That
what
is
does-
one of the dumbest ideas I've ever heard of.
Yeah.
$275,000 in a $60 million budget is nothing. It's like, it's a dumb business decision when you realize that you're going to have to go out and find the revenue for this, and you're not going to spend it for 5 years, but you're willing to go borrow $3 million and finance it over 10 years. The two things together are totally incompatible.
Did we vote on that? We
No.
didn't?
No.
Okay. Any other comments?
Oh, yeah, we did. I said after.
I was thinking we did.
After the vote.
I must have your attention if you're losing track of what's going on.
Yeah, you got.
That was me, sorry.
Professional statement, Mr. Chairman.
I'm just making sure that I see what your vote is.
I want you to get me right, because I'm telling you, it's no on all of this.
I'll tackle another one that's in the expansion, and that's the EMS Pay Certification. I hope I've got that right terminology. And that number is 31,000. I think it's important if we have an employee that goes from the EMT to the paramedic level, that we don't lose them to another county. And that we have to start over again and hire an additional employee and go through a training program with them. Any other comment? All right, those in favor of keeping that in the proposed expansion, raise your right hand. Those opposed? I like your glasses, Hood.
They work. I can see clearly.
How about both at Hyde and Martin Library, the $6,000?
$2.50.
Yeah, I'll tackle, were you waiting?
No, we got it.
Okay. As it relates to the Beaufort Hive, we had a request that we increase their budget to handle a need down in Bath. And so I would recommend that we increase their budget by $5,000.
Is this a one-time expense?
No, sir. This is reoccurring. This is reoccurring. This would go in the 212, or be added to the 212.
It would be added to the 208, wouldn't it? Or am I wrong?
I think it was 212. Isn't the
This-
BHM library?
I think it's 2025, but let me
Okay.
check myself. $2025.
2025.
So I put it at 208.
207.
207.5.
207.5.
Plus they would get the $1,000 that was going to Bellhaven.
So that's a wash. Yeah.
That's a wash.
Okay. Those in favor of that expansion? Those opposed?
I have one more. The Agape Health Clinic asked for $150,000. I said, give them one. No, I'm just messing. $25,000.
What was that?
Agape Health Clinic. And that is a one-time thing to help them secure that dentist. This is not a reoccurring, a one-time. Just
8 years ago, you gave them $67,500 for a dentist. No, you gave them 200 and something thousand dollars
that was not for a dentist. That was for equipment.
for a dentist. It was for equipment for a dentist.
Yeah.
Okay.
Their request this time, if I understand it, was to help them add one dentist
Right.
to their existing program. Any other comment? All right. Those in favor of expanding the budget by $25,000, raise your right hand. Those opposed? All right. As you look down the list, we still have a lot of names on here.
I'm done.
That's all I'm gonna do.
Mr. Chairman, could we ask for clarification real quick on a couple things?
Yes, you sure can.
As I go down the list, I've got Boys and Girls Club, an additional $10,000. Is that a one-time
Correct.
occurrence, or is that a recurring occurrence? So the reason I'm asking is, like last year, you gave them an additional 5, but it was one time.
Yeah. One
Is
time.
this a one-time appropriation?
One time.
So this is one time.
If he wants money again next year, he can come back and ask for it.
How about the POW program, the $5,000 you allocated to POW? Is that a one-time appropriation, or is that a recurring appropriation?
Ron, that was yours.
And if that wasn't what everybody understood, y'all might need to vote on it again.
No, my original intent was 5,000 per year. If
Reoccurring.
somebody wants to raise it, we vote, but my original intention was 5,000 a year.
So that's a recurring cost. Is that way everybody understood it? You don't need to do another vote. Okay.
Does anybody? All right.
You talked about Bath Historic, that your intent was to do it for 2 years, but you couldn't bind the future board. Agape, you said was one time, and the BHM you just said was recurring.
Right, that 5,000, because that's,
Earmarked for Bath.
yes.
So since the historic money is up, you can't hold another body to that thing, is just, so right now it's a one-time fund, right? Is that right, Brian, what you said?
I'm sorry.
On the Bath Historic piece, since you can't hold another board hostage, you say you can do it, so this time it's just a one-time thing, and it come back up again next year, is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or you could say it's recurring, and then we would put it in again next year. But we're fine with you saying it.
Any way you do it, I just want to be sure.
I mean, I think we understand your intent, and
Yeah.
You run some numbers.
Well,
Look, I mean, you guys
Have you-
are missing the plum.
which one?
Your opportunity to increase taxes. I mean, you've increased spending, but there's requests in here for tax increases. I figured y'all would jump on that with both feet, and we'd have a real frenzy.
Hey, we're gonna get a total, and then we're gonna have to talk about how we're gonna fund it, since it's not in the budget.
You mean the tax increases?
It's not gonna be any tax increase.
Oh, you're not going to increase any taxes for any of the EMS districts or the fire districts?
Well, we hadn't got to,
We ain't got to that yet.
It's
we're
here,
gonna
it's in
get-
here.
yeah, but we're gonna get there.
Oh, I thought you were finishing up.
No.
I was afraid you were going to leave out your best part.
No. Is there any other questions that relates to the expansion that has to be funded either by the fund balance or a tax increase? We're gonna take the fire districts as separate, fire and EMS as separate.
Oh, okay.
Is it break time?
All right. I mean, you guys, as you look through this, is there anything else? Well, we're still on page 169. And there's a few things that flow over to 170.
Just one thing, since you did a straw vote on a 2% COLA for general fund, unless you're gonna leave the water department employees out.
We're going to tackle that once,
In order for, okay.
yeah.
My apologies. So you're looking for a number?
Yes. What total number have you got now?
The total number is 650, 459.
650, 459?
That's the total additions.
Okay.
That would bring if you paid for that with fund balance, we had an original fund balance appropriation of 394, 381. That would bring the total to $1,044,840 if you chose to pay for it that way.
1,044,000?
Yes, 1,044,840.
Okay, if, what you're saying is, if we pull down the fund balance by this amount of money, there is no tax increase. Now, here's your opportunity to talk about whether this is a good idea or whether you'd want to raise taxes to generate this money. Or a mix.
That's about a penny. 650 is a little over a penny, actually, but it's round numbers, it's a penny.
That's right.
So what are we up to, 695?
650, 459.
605?
650, 459.
Which is roughly 1 penny.
Yes, sir.
What's that gonna do to the fund balance percentage-wise?
We'll have to calculate that. Let's see.
Well, it's a 1 over 14. Reduce it 6%.
It's a little bit tricky because we're increasing the budget.
Yeah, it'll take me just a second.
Okay. Well, I tell you what, we've gone a little bit past 6:30. Why don't we take a break?
Great.
And when we come back, you can give us that number.
Thank you.
Anita, do you have that number?
Yes.
Okay.
Based on what you've told us, your unassigned fund balance, we're showing, is 13,855,506. 13,855,506. And based on that expenditure number, that would equate to 24.29%.
24.29?
Yes, sir.
And you've increased the budget by the amount that we were talking about on the expansion?
We have increased the budget by $650,459.
All right. Give me that budget number now, if we did the expansion
If
item.
you did the expansion, it's $57,037,351. So $57,037,351, and that does not include, just let us be clear on that, that does not include the $3 million borrowing piece, because you have to show that on your expenditure side.
Right.
So when you look at the bottom, the budget, the total budget would be $60,037,351, because you have to show that entire borrowing amount on there.
Anybody got a question on what the fund balance would look like if we add these items and pull down the fund balance to fund these additional expenditures? If not, we'll we'll take a straw vote. Do you want to take one for increasing taxes or one for increasing using the fund balance? The numbers that's just been given to us pulls the fund balance down with no tax increase.
Well, I'm against doing it, so I'm going to be, how am I going to vote? You're leaving me out. You're forcing me to vote for something. Neither one of those ideas is a good idea.
Well, you're an elected official just like all 7 of us, and each one of us has to take a vote, so you just had to vote your conscience on which way you want to go.
What is my conscience on raising taxes or lowering the fund balance? How can you have, anybody that votes for either one of those doesn't have a conscience when it comes to looking after the taxpayers, if you want to get into that.
There is a group that would like to see us pull down our fund balance to 20%, and this is not pulling it down to 20%. So it depends. I've got 18 clients, and all 18 of them does their job differently. But as long as they're successful, we got 7 different opinions up here, and you've expressed yours. So at this point in time, which way do you want to go? Do you want to take a vote on both choices, or you just want to
Do both.
do both?
You need to
Okay.
vote on each one of them separately.
All right. Those that would like to fund this increase, which would be roughly 1 penny on the tax rate, which would bring it from 55 to 56, raise your right hand.
Question after I raise my hand, too. Would you, at a $100,000 house, how much would that increase my taxes?
$10.
$10.
$10.
How many times can I go to McDonald's and get a burger during the year for $10? Once. That's the reason I said, I mean, you got to replace this money that you'll keep taking out. You got to replace it with something. And Mr. Richardson stated that he think a citizen ought to vote for tax increases or spending money. And I say this every year, and I've been saying it ever since I've been here, and I lose every year. The citizen voted to spend $30 million on the school bond referendum, and we hadn't passed those expenditures down to the citizens as of yet. So that's the reason I said 1 cent. And if you do the math, if we had done what the citizens asked us to do, our taxes would probably be 6 to 8 cents higher. I don't have the numbers, I don't have the spreadsheet, but I know for a fact that we have paid those bonds down without a great big increase to pay those bonds. And it looks bad when you say, look how much money you spent. But when you're paying those bonds, where did that money come from, Ms. Finance? Where does that money come from when you're paying those bonds off?
From the general fund.
I rest my case. That's just me. I just lost.
You bring up a good point. Turn to page 49, I think it is. No, page 51. I mean, this is our debt service annually. We're looking into 2017, 2018 budget year, page 51. You're looking at $2,938,000. So if you just divide that by 600,000, what is that, 5 cents? So what you're saying, I agree with.
And we made those decisions, we thought we made them in good faith effort to try to absorb as much of that bond debt as we could. But now it's about time to come home to roost. You just can't keep digging and digging and digging in your rainy day funds to pay for it. I don't think.
Let me address some of that.
Go ahead.
You know, all budgets are made up of the sum of infinitely small parts, each of which can be justified independently as, oh, it's a wonderful thing. At the end of the day, you add up all of those infinitely small parts, and you've got something that's $60 million. We have been elected to make some big decisions on policy. And so far, we're not making any decisions on policy. We're just rolling along with we need this and we need that, and so we're justifying everything. Everything can be justified. The commissioners are elected to have a little bit of fortitude in making decisions to hold costs down. And this board has no fortitude in making decisions to hold costs down. We won't, we're buying.
Okay, we had to vote on that. I guess we probably need to take a vote on pulling the fund balance then in order to do this expansion in our budget. So those in favor of using the fund balance to fund the expansion we've discussed, raise your right hand. Those opposed? Okay.
So be it.
All right.
So be it.
Now, getting back to the expansion items, now we will address the tax increases for EMS and for the fire districts. Do you want to address them as a group, or do you want to take them one at a time and do a straw?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Commissioner.
I'm just, I think we ought to do it all at one time. It's a waste of time to do them separately. But I know we don't have a lot of time left before we sign off on this budget. But there's got to be some way that we can get some input from the citizens of Beaufort County on how they feel about this tax increase, fire and EMS. I just don't like the thought of 3 or 4 men or women sitting around the table deciding what to do for 20,000 people. And with no input is what I'm saying. I understand that we're the taxing board, and that all the advisory boards do is advise us. But I would just like to see some input from the citizens of Beaufort County. And if you'll please call me, I'll talk to you.
And the board is required to have a public hearing on this budget before it's adopted, so.
Well, if they don't show, if they come to the open hearing and they talk, or if they don't show up, then I'll know what to do.
Go ahead. I'm going to go after you go.
Okay, we've got a letter that we received, I guess it was yesterday, from the Chocowinity Volunteer Fire Department. I think the other night, for the first time, Aurora and Chocowinity had already done their budget for the year, and now we're coming up with some changes in the amount of money that needs to flow back to Blunt Springs Fire Department. And when they started looking at the numbers, they realized the budget that they had proposed for Chocowinity Fire District was not sufficient enough to. And they want to be able, if I understand it, Brian, they want to be able to pass that money over the portion that's collected in that Blunt's Creek district over to them.
Right, essentially, Richlands Township said, we've already done all our process, and Blunt's Creek, you came to us a little too late. We're willing to look at it, like they said the other night, we're willing to look at it next year, and we'll be happy to do that. I think Chocowinity had run their numbers, and they were transferring about 19%, right?
Yes.
About 19% of the funds that came to them to Blunt's Creek. When we did the GIS work, we came up with about 22%. And essentially what they said was, okay, we hear you. We agree that that's about right, 22%. But for us to get back to where we had originally intended to be, and us give them the 22% instead of just the 19, we actually need to go from 3.6 to 4.
And the amount of money that would flow over to Blunt's Creek would be, according to your schedule here, would be $81,954.
Yes.
Yes, yeah. That's our estimate at 4 cents. That's our estimate. Now, of course, we know the real property. We know those values. We've pegged those. There's a guesstimate in there on the personal and public property and on the motor vehicle.
All right.
So we think that will at least be that much.
So they're asking us now to change that, or to increase that rate from 2.6 to 4 cent.
Yes. Instead of a penny, it's a penny, 1.4 cents.
Did you hear anything back from the Aurora or the Richland Township Board?
They said, again, they followed up with an email and said, thank you for letting us come and present, and we're certainly willing to look at that, but we don't have the time to go back through our process and get all our approvals. We'll certainly be willing to look at it next year.
Okay. But they've not asked us to change their recommendation?
No, sir, they're set with their recommendation. They haven't changed that at all.
All right.
Can I? Ask
Yes.
a question? Aurora gives, if I'm correct, Lowndes Creek a set amount, correct?
Yes.
They
Which
do.
is $9,000?
$9,500.
$9,500?
Yes,
And
sir.
that's based upon what?
I can't answer that question. I don't know.
But if we were to look at the property taxes from business, residents, personal property tax, do we know if that number would be higher?
Well, actually, based on what we have, and of course, we talked a little bit about this the other night,
Yes.
we did not include the business personal property. We didn't
Okay.
include like potash, because potash is actually not in Blunt's Creek's district. Now,
That's
they
right.
would respond to it on a mutual aid call, but it's not specifically in their district. It is in the Richland district. They're
Richland
responsible. So we did not include that. And what we showed was about $8,500. So, plus or minus, they may be giving a little bit more based on what we have, but again, we didn't include the big number out there, which is potash. With their increase, we're showing that it would be about $13,000. Near about $14,000 would need to go to them. And again, Richlands has said, we hear you. We're willing to look at it next year. We just need to move through that process.
So you're
Richland
showing,
don't want to do it right now.
What
Not
they're
this
saying
year.
is they can't do it, or they're not able to do it this year because they've already gone through all their processes and had their approvals, and they'd have to go back to the town and all the different stuff.
That's the only change that we've had since we had them for the workshop.
Yes, sir.
None of these other districts has
No, sir.
applied.
Chocowinity EMS is still at moving to the 5 cent.
Well, it sounds like to me that Chocowinity gives Blunt's Creek what they want to give them. Is that correct?
No, actually, I think Chocowinity is essentially trying to do the right thing. I mean, their number, their 19%, when we first looked at it, just looking at the real estate, was pretty darn close. And then when we added in the other stuff, we said, well, it looks like it's maybe 22%. And what they're saying is, okay, if it's 22%, we need to give them 22%. But we need to come back to y'all and say, look, we set our budget. We said we needed this amount to survive. Since we're going to be moving more money over to Blunt's Creek than we thought, can you take it to 4 cents instead? So, I mean, I think I think they're all trying to do the right thing. One of them is just caught up in a time frame. The other one is saying, okay, we can try to make that work.
Barney, do you have any input on that?
I've just been a facilitator of information. I'd be glad to answer any questions you may have on it.
I just wonder, have you had any conversation with Chocowinity and Blunt's Creek about the?
Extensive conversation with both. Because of the way the tax district is put together in Richlands, it's a little bit different in that they have a taxing board that they approach, that they go through, and it's incorporated with their town, and it's fire and EMS together. Chocowinity's district, monies come from the county straight to Chocowinity for their district, and that other percentage that would go to Blunt's Creek does not go through them. Where at Richlands gets money, Aurora would get money, and then they give them a flat fee of $9,500. So they're in, you might would say, to some degree, a control of money that goes to Blunt's Creek in their process. Chocowinity's not in that control. And so it's easier for them at this late stage in the game to stay. Both are saying, we agree with what's right, but Chocowinity's, as Manager Alligood said, it's just an easier thing for them now to say, yeah, okay, we agree. We want them to get the funds that would be generated out of their primary response district.
Okay, thank you.
So let me draw you to page 362 in your budget.
$362.
Yes, sir.
Brian, while we're looking, so the money that goes from the Chocowinity Fire District, the township, is for services that Blount's Creek Fire Department provides in that township.
In the Chocowinity Township, yes, sir. Part of their, I'll tell you what, if y'all want to talk, I'll pull it up on here where you can see it.
He's got a map that shows the district and the overlap.
Well, while he's doing that, let me make my little thing, because it's included in this.
Yes, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
let me make my,
Go ahead.
you know, when we talk about asking people, as Commissioner Brent is saying, to support an increase in taxes, it's a bit just disingenuous, because commissioners sit here and they vote for these services, and then they want the people that they're taxing to go out and bless the tax. You know, it should be the reverse.
That's wrong. That's not what I said.
People should, you ask for these people to come and tell you that they supported a tax
I didn't say
increase.
that.
You want to
I
know
said
how
I
they feel?
wanted input. There's a big difference in what you said and what I said.
Well, what is the input?
The
You're
input,
wanting
I
them to,
want to know whether they're in favor of it or whether they're not.
what difference does it
It
make?
makes a big
You
difference.
voted to increase the services. It's up to you as a commissioner to come up with the money to pay for it,
haven't voted.
whether you take
I
it from.
haven't voted for it.
You voted for everything EMS has done, Gary. Get off of
I
it
have
and
not
stop
voted to
telling
increase the
stories.
tax.
You know, you voted for the services,
Let me,
and that's true.
while y'all take a deep breath, let me make a comment. I went over and met with some of the people at the Chocowinity EMS back when we had our last discussion about they needed some additional funds or needed some help. And I'm the one that made the recommendation at the next go-around, why don't you increase your tax rate to 5 cents? That's what I pay. That's what I've been paying. That's the maximum amount that you can pay under the law, if I understand it correctly, the way our districts are set up. So I encouraged them to do it because I want Chocowinity EMS to be successful. If they're not successful after this, or something happens, which I think that they have everything moving in the right direction. I don't have any problems with doing the tax increases for the fire and the EMS. A lot of these districts, a lot of these people are strictly volunteers, and they either have to sell barbecue or have cake sales, or they have to have an increase in order to continue to do the equipment that they have to have, the trucks, the gear. And I'm not going to second guess any of these people that come to us with that recommendation. If you compare the tax increase to what some of these people are saving on the insurance, it's a pretty good deal to protect it, because we do have the possibility of at least one. Because of the lack of volunteers, I'm not sure what would happen. We might have to do some kind of they might have to do some kind of a merger. And I think what's happening on the Chocowinity and the Richland Township, with the information we've got now, we can show the additional money that should flow to hopefully stabilize the financial condition and make some improvements as it relates to the Blount's Creek. fire department. You got it? All right.
He's getting there.
So those are all your fire districts. And then, if you keep that over, there you go. So down on the, all right, so those are your fire districts, the Chalkawinity, Blunt's Creek, and then Aurora. Now, I'm gonna lay on top of that your townships. You see how that town, you see where the township difference is? So here's the Chalkawinity Township, that's the dividing line right there. That's Chalkawinity Township, that's Richland Township. This is Blunt's Creek response area there. So you got this little piece, this is what we're calling Richland's East, yeah, no, Blunt's Creek East. We're calling it Blunt's Creek East, and we're calling it Blunt's Creek West. So that's the difference. That's where our townships don't match our response area. So that's why they're providing, that's why Chalkawinity Township, or Chalkawinity, because they're receiving all the funds in Chalkawinity Township, they're providing funds to Blunt's Creek. And essentially what we've tried to do is figure out what is this area right here? What's the valuation of that area? And we're really good on that with our real property because we can drill down on our GIS and know exactly what that valuation is. And then this piece is the piece that's in the Richlands Township that we try to drill down on the city. So, that makes sense to everybody?
Okay, look at page 362. This is a summary of each one of the townships relating to the EMS and also the fire taxes district. And you can see what the current rate is and what the suggested or requested rate is, and you need to make a change under the Chalkawinity Township. Instead of 3.6, that needs to be 4 cent. That's the only change that we're making on this sheet.
Yes, sir. 4.0.
So as you look, Bath Township, there is no increase. Washington Township goes from 4.5 to 5. No increase in the Long Acre Township. Chalkawinity Township is going from 3.5 to 5. And then the Chalkawinity Municipal, or the town of Chalkawinity, is going from 3.5 to 5 cent. No increase for the Pantooka Township. And then when you look at the fire districts, Northside Fire District is requesting going from 2.9 to 3.75. Chalkawinity from 2.6 to 4. And then the Richland is their request, and here again, that is a combination of fire and EMS, is going from 3.9 to 6.35. Any questions before we take a straw vote?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Bath is, you said no increase, it's at 5.
Yeah, that's the maximum.
Yeah. Washington Township is an increase. Chalkawinity is an increase, Chalkawinity is an increase. Pantego is staying at 5.
That's because that's the maximum.
5, yes.
That's max.
Yes. Mr. Chairman, if I may, these increases, if I agree with what you previously said, these increases are necessary. I remember last year during the budget process, I believe it was during the budget process, one of the fire chiefs gave us a presentation about the cost, the basic cost of volunteer firemen. And just for salaries, as I recall, was $14 million without counting anything else. So if we were to absorb as a countywide system, we'd be talking about a lot of money. We're talking maybe $15, $20 million. So it's a service that's needed. Plus, as we heard at the last meeting, a number of these firemen, these volunteers are providing pit crew CPR. And I think they related one where they saved somebody on Friday, revived somebody who flatlined. The EMS is a wonderful service. We're bringing the emergency room to the driveway of the residents. We have successes on that program. We've had many successes where the person flatlined but was recovered and went to the hospital recovered. So both of these services, they do cost money, but the residents of those communities are getting, I think, a bang for their buck for these services. So I think we'd be remiss if we didn't approve these. Now, as I mentioned at the last meeting, not only did the individual boards of the EMS and the fire districts approve these, requested these increases and approved them, the EMS Oversight Committee, which is represented by a number of individuals in the county, also is recommending approval to the board. So we do have recommendations of approval. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any other comment before we take a straw vote? All right, all those in favor of taking the recommendations from these different taxing districts that we have just discussed on page 362, raise your right hand. Okay, those opposed? All right, thank you, gentlemen.
What was the vote?
5-2. We're down to the last part of the budget, which is the enterprise, and I think the only thing that we need to have a straw vote on here is on the cost of living increase of 2% for the employees within the water department. Comments before we take a straw vote? All those in favor of doing, expanding the budget 2% in the water department to handle the cost of living, raise your right hand. Those opposed? 6-1. Brian, do you or Anita have anything else that you need from the Board of Commissioners before you finalize your budget or revise your budget?
No, sir, I think we're good. You have a scheduled public hearing on the 12th. Last year, we asked the same question, so we'll ask the same question again. Do you want us to have the budget ordinance prepared for that meeting? Which we would normally do.
I think the consensus is yes.
Okay.
Anything else that we need to have?
Now, just a reminder, you will also be having a public hearing at that meeting. We've scheduled the public hearing. We've made all the official notices for the Pantigga municipal area that was not included in the Pantigga Township EMS district. We had to send, by statute, we had to send letters to everybody who owned property in the township, or not in the township, in the municipal limits. We've done that, so you'll have a public hearing that night as well, because the town of Pantigga has asked to be included in the township, in the Pantigga EMS district.
That's on the 12th.
That's on the 12th. Essentially, we'll have that one first, so you can hear public comments on that, and then you can have your public comment, have your public hearing
On the budget.
itself.
Is it going to be here or in?
No, sir, it'll be in the courthouse.
Have you received any response from the letters that were mailed to the
I haven't.
inside of the town?
I haven't. And there's a report that's on file at clerk's office that has all the requirements that the statutes require for expanding that district.
Has any one of the commissioners received any feedback?
No.
Okay.
Before we adjourn, I'd like to raise some questions. I don't expect answers, but on the revenue side of the budget,
Yes.
with regard to trash collection, within mobile home parks within the county, does each resident of that mobile home park pay the fee, or how is that taxed?
Here's my understanding, and I'll caveat that with saying Bobby may tell me something different, but as I understand it from Bobby, in mobile home parks where there is not a coordinated pickup, because what he said to me before is we've got one or two mobile home parks, I think, where the owner of the mobile home park picks up the trash themselves and carries it to the transfer station, but they pay the tipping fee. So we're not charging those individual lots because the owner is picking up the trash and paying the tipping fee when it dumps. But every other place, is my understanding, we're charging that because the county's paying for that tipping fee.
Are we paying based on the residential unit in the park?
Yes, sir. The way it's set up now, it's any parcel that has an improved dwelling on it. So open farmland's not charged. But if there's a property that has a house on it, has an improved structure on it, except for businesses, because businesses have their own pickup. And under that pickup, they pay the tipping fee.
They pay the tipping fee when it goes here. It comes to this
It comes to
station,
transfer. Yes, sir.
and they pay the tipping fee separately.
And that provider has to pay the tipping fee, which they get from their client.
Okay, well, what about the camper parks?
I don't know the answer to that question. I can ask Mr. Parker. My anticipation would be that they would have a private pickup that would be paying the tipping fee, but that's just what I would anticipate.
What about properties that are lotted out that have residences on them, but the parcel, like a 20-acre parcel, may have 3 residents on it? It's lotted out, but it doesn't show up as lots on the tax maps.
My assumption would be that it would be, if it was a single parcel, it would be charged one time.
Why?
I don't know, but how would we have multiple residences on a single parcel?
You have it
We do.
on a single tax parcel. So I'd like for you to get board answers to those things.
Yeah, because that's interesting. Usually, usually you're not allowed, you got to subdivide it to have another home. Okay, I see you grinning, so.
Yes.
We'll find out.
All right?
Was that it?
Yeah, this question's for Anita. I talked with you a while back and asked you about the boat slips down at Moss Landing. Are we taxing those?
I did not remember to check into that. Let me check into that and I'll have
Because
an
those boat
answer.
slips are about $40,000 apiece.
We would be yes, they're being
We
taxed.
should be taxing.
Yes,
I'm
they
just
would.
wondering what, because the city of Washington wasn't taxing them.
Well, we actually do the tax.
We do the taxing for the city of Washington.
Right.
So if it wasn't being taxed, you were the ones that weren't taxing.
And it may have been that they were not, they have been built since then, but, they may not have at the time when, I don't know how long ago it's been you looked. But if they weren't there, as of January 1, they wouldn't have been picked up. They would have been picked up the next year, but we'll double check on that one as well.
This concludes 4 nights of the budget workshop, and at this time, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We had 2 motions on the floor.
Second.
One was a 4 and one was a second. All those in favor, raise your right hand.